Good morning, everyone. It's probably not morning when you're watching this, but it's bright and early in the morning right now, and I'm slightly being blinded by the sun. But today we're making bagels. Yes, bagels from home. So we got to start early so we get the most delicious, extra flavorful bagel. And that means we need to make a sponge, which is a yeast and flour mixture, kind of like a sourdough, but we don't need to wait for several days for it. This one's just gonna sit for about 3 to 4 hours. So to get that started, I'm gonna put in 1 cup of warm room temperature-ish water into our mixing bowl. Then I'm going to add 1.5 cups of regular flour. Pop that in there. Now, if you remember, we were adding honey or like sugar to our yeast the other day. In this one, since it's sitting for so long, the flour actually acts as the sugar to feed our yeast, and it also helps give us lots of flavor. And then I need to add 1.25 teaspoon of our instant yeast, or whatever yeast you have. Okay, perfect. So that's all in there, and then I'm just gonna stir it together. And then we're gonna put a saran wrap on top and just let this sit for 3 hours at room temperature. It's gonna look kind of gross. It's gonna grow and make all this acid and bubbles, but that's gonna be really delicious flavor. So more of the flavor of a traditional bagel. Okay, that's it. That's stirred together. I'm gonna scrape off this whiskey and clean it off, but we're just gonna saran wrap it, let it sit, and then I'll see you in a few hours and we can make our bagel. Dough looks all weird and goopy right now, but that's perfect. It also smells very yeasty, which means we've created a lot of bacteria in here, but good bacteria that's gonna give us that nice, delicious, kind of sourdoughy tang, just a slight tang to our bagels. I almost said donuts. They are bagels. Awesome. So we're gonna finish up our dough now. I'm gonna add 1.5 cups more flour to that. And I'm using the mixer again. We'll probably have to finish this by hand though as well. So 1.5 cups more flour. We're gonna add 1 tablespoon of honey. If you have molasses, that's even better. I thought that I had molasses, but it was expired 5 years ago and had turned into kind of a thick gel block. So probably not the best thing to eat. But honey, we're gonna use that. And then also 1.5 teaspoons of salt. Grab that. And then we're gonna pop this on our mixer with the dough hook and get that mixing together. And that's all the ingredients that are gonna go into this recipe of the dough. And then on top, I'm gonna put sesame seeds on top. You can put I'm gonna put poppy seeds. You can put sesame seeds or really whatever you want, or just leave them plain. So I'm gonna let this knead for about 6 or 7 minutes, get it all together, and lovely. So our dough ball bakes for about 6 minutes on in our mixer with the dough hook. And it's, if you see it, it's not sticking to me, which is perfect. You can knead it a few times by hand if you want, just to bring it into a nice little ball. And then I'm gonna pop it into a greased bowl with a lid and let it sit for an hour. Our dough baby has sat for about an hour, so it's all relaxed. It's risen a little bit, and now we're gonna roll it into bagels. So I'm just gonna pop it out here. This dough is gonna make about 6 regular sized bagels. So I'm just gonna kind of divide this into 6 with a knife. If you've got a bench scraper, even better. I have those at the bakery, but not in my house. Awesome, so I'm just eyeballing this. If you want to be really particular, you can weigh them out evenly, but It's home baking. It can be wonky shaped. All right, beautiful. We got 6 little dough pieces here. So how we're gonna roll it into a bagel is we're gonna roll it into a ball. So with your hand like this, you're gonna cup your dough ball and then on the counter roll it around. And hopefully if you built up enough gluten by kneading it in the mixer, you're not going to need to flour your surface at all, which helps with rolling this into a ball. All right, now we have this cute little ball. We're gonna poke our finger in the middle, all the way through, and then stretch her out. You want a relatively large hole, like 1.5 inches, because it is gonna rise and kind of fill in that hole. Maybe swing it around. Okay, that's a fun shaped donut. No, bagel. Now, that looks great. So I'm gonna put that on to a parchment lined tray. This is actually our parchment we used to sift yesterday. So I've just dusted it with a little bit of flour. I'm gonna pop her on there. I'm gonna do all the rest of them and then cover it with a little saran wrap and let it sit for like 20 minutes, half an hour, just to let it proof a little bit more. So I'm gonna keep rolling those donuts. Why do I keep calling them donuts? Bagels out, and we'll be back. All right, I got all our bagels rolled out and I saran wrapped them. So this is just gonna sit for 20 minutes, half an hour. And then while those are resting, we're gonna get some water boiling. So I've got about 2 or 3 liters of water here. We're gonna add 1/4 cup of brown sugar or honey you can add too. And then 1 teaspoon baking soda. And then we're just gonna bring that up to a boil and we're gonna boil our bagels once they're Our bagels have sat for about 25 minutes, so they've relaxed a little bit. And now we're gonna boil them. So our water with the brown sugar and baking soda is boiling. It's at a nice little simmer here. And then we're gonna pop in, I'm just gonna do 2 at a time into the water. And you just are giving them a little soak. We're not trying to cook them. About 20-30 seconds on each side, and then we'll flip it over and pop them out back onto our tray. If you have one of these kind of spatula spoon thingies, that's perfect for scooping them out. Otherwise, if you don't have that, I find a normal spatula works pretty good too because it has the holes, so you can drain it out with that. Awesome. Let me turn my heat up a little. So these are just gonna soak, get a little bit of a honey kind of glaze on the outside. It's not sweet or anything, it's just gonna give us that texture of a bagel that we love. So I'm gonna keep doing that until they're all done, and then we will egg wash them, pop them in the oven. All right, our bagels are all boiled, so they are nice and sticky on top. We're gonna egg wash them now. Amazing, so we're egg washing our bagels now. An egg wash is just, I put 1 egg in here, whisked it up with a pinch of salt and a pinch of sugar, and that's gonna help us get that honey brown glaze look on the outside. So you just wanna make sure you brush it around the whole thing, get it on all those edges, and then I'm using poppy seeds on top. If you have that everything bagel spice, that would be really good. I don't have that. All I've got is poppy seeds, but you can just leave them plain too, or sesame seeds, whatever you like. So these look amazing. I'm so excited to eat them. So I've got my oven preheated to 450. I'm gonna pop them in there for like 20 minutes, and hopefully they come out delicious golden brown and ready for some cream cheese. Awesome, we'll see you in a few. You guys, look at these. They look so good. Plus, it made my house smell like this bakery I used to go to as a kid called Guns Bakery in Winnipeg. So it smells awesome. But these took about 15 minutes in the oven, a little less than I thought. But look how beautiful and golden brown they are. If you're worried about knowing if they're baked, same thing with our bread. We want it to sound hollow when we tap it. So these babies are all done. They look amazing. I'm just letting them cool a few more minutes before I can dig in with my cream cheese. I'm so excited. Well, thanks for joining me today. I'll see you tomorrow, and we'll bake something else delicious.